Hello guys, and welcome to day one of the How to Eat Healthy Eating Challenge. Today and then each day, so Monday through Thursday, we're doing this live coaching at 1 o'clock. I'm trying to keep it short, but I also want to make sure that I am here to answer any of your questions that you have. So if you have questions, here I'm pulling out my notes here, but if you have questions, drop them here if you're watching live. If you are catching the replay, drop a little hashtag replay. As you come in, drop a little heart or a like so that we can let everybody know that this is actually happening. So I invited everybody, so sorry if you got the invite and didn't want it, but we're here. So hello guys. I don't know if Facebook. Oh, hey, I can actually see who's watching. I think Michelle, and then I see someone else. Where? Okay. I'm so technologically challenged, you guys, so bear with me. I can't quite see who all is in. So feel free to say hi if you're here. And then if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully you guys all got the email this morning that kind of covers the habit. It had a link to a little cheat sheet that I love using. I use it with my clients and I think it's just great. But yeah, if you didn't get the email or if you didn't get the link or the link didn't work or something, let me know. And so we're going to get this going. So today I want to talk in a little more depth about today's habit, because the whole point of this challenge, right, is to help build your foundation with healthy eating instead of just throwing more information at you that's going to lead to more overwhelm. There's a lot of overwhelming information out there. There are a lot of different strategies that you can try, but ultimately it comes back down to a small handful of habits. I'm not teaching you all the foundational habits because it's just kind of not doable in 1 week. Usually like with my clients and in some of my programs, I tend to drip this stuff out more over like a week where you have, or like over 1 week per habit, really, where you get a whole week to actually practice the habit before I throw the next one at you. So this challenge is kind of a crash course. To give you the information to show you that there is a different way that's easier and more effective that will actually build a healthier relationship with food and a healthier relationship with your body as well. So today, day one, I decided to start you guys off with the hand portion method that I love. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that method and why it's useful, and really how to make the most out of that method. I couldn't really put it all in an email because then you guys would have been reading like a book, and I don't like to do that to you. So let me know if you have questions along the way. I saw that Sherry put in a few questions in the Facebook group, and I don't think I can pull up my email here. I don't think I got any emails with questions in response to this morning's email. So if last challenge, I actually had an issue where I had a couple of people emailing me back with questions, and for some reason those emails were not showing up in my box. So if that has happened to you, I don't see any emails. So yeah, if you did send an email and I didn't get it, just drop the question in the comments here or in the Facebook group and I will answer it for you. So today, let's talk a little bit about the hand portion method. So this is the only habit that we're working on this week that is like remotely similar to things like calorie counting and food weighing and that kind of thing. And the reason I wanted to start with this one is because even though you might not like calorie counting, you might not like food weighing, I've noticed in challenges like this, I can't start off the challenge like too far removed from what you already know and what you're familiar with when it comes to like healthy eating or exercise or whatever. So this one is similar, but very different at the same time. So it's a actionable tool. I think that's really what makes it the most similar. It's an actionable tool that you can start using right away. You can like very clearly see your hand size, and you can very clearly use that to determine how much food you're putting on your plate, right? It's a very specific action you can take with this habit today. So the thing is, though, I don't want you really like obsessing over this, because that's the big issue that we run into with like calorie counting and food measuring and all of that, is that it's so easy to get very hung up on the number, like eating that exact amount of calories, measuring that exact amount of food. There's no wiggle room. And that's why I like the hand portion method, because there's plenty of wiggle room, because your hand portions are going to be different from someone else's. And I mean, a cupped handful, like there's some wiggle room in like a cupped handful or a palm-sized serving or a thumb-sized serving. Like there's so much good wiggle room in that. So it is a tool that brings just enough awareness to what you're putting on your plate and how much. And, it gives you kind of a sense of inexactness, I guess, so you won't be quite so inclined to obsess over it. So the thing is, I wanted to talk quickly about why calorie counting is not useful, like why food measuring is not useful. Like we've already identified, those are not helpful if your goal is having a healthy relationship with food and with your body, because those immediately trigger that like obsessive compulsive attitude in us. You know, we start obsessing over how many calories did we actually eat. We got to track it, right? And then that triggers a lot of anxiety. And then it triggers a lot of restriction. And then you just have a really terrible relationship with your food. You start labeling things good and bad. You start making decisions that are based on really external stuff that's not important really to you. Like how many calories is in something is relatively insignificant to whether you're going to enjoy the food or whether it's going to nourish your body, right? Because those are really the more important things when it comes to eating, is like, are you going to enjoy the food, and is it going to nourish your body, and is it going to support you in your goals of having a healthy body, a healthy life, but also a fulfilling and enjoyable life. So that's why you're not going to see me telling you to like restrict certain foods and that sort of thing. That's something I do work more closely with my clients on, in figuring out like, are there certain foods that are not like serving your body well, and we can identify those and place boundaries around them, but never with the goal of making you feel restricted. Like that's just not a goal here. We want to enjoy our food, and we want to be able to sit down to eat anything without feeling anxious or guilty. So, calorie counting. I want to kind of debunk a little myth, because you hear calorie counting is like the go-to option for when you want to lose weight, or even if you want to gain weight. And the thing is it's not actually accurate. So that's what I think you need to know, that it is not actually accurate. Every single individual food item is different from another that's similar. The basket full of apples you might have in your kitchen, every single apple is going to have a different number of calories and slightly different nutritional levels as well, especially if you've got an apple from one farm and then an apple from another farm. Like, every single apple is not 40 calories or whatever they say it is. I don't even know. I'm making that up. But every single apple is not 40 calories. The particular apple that they happened to measure in a lab under controlled conditions, where there were no other foods interacting with it, no other bodily fluids like your digestive enzymes interacting with it. When they measured that food in the lab, that is the particular number of calories that they determined were generally associated with that food. So they've not measured, to my knowledge, they've not measured the calorie number associated with different foods in different people's digestive tracts based on their digestive enzymes and how those foods are interacting with other foods. It is so inaccurate when you actually take the numbers prescribed to these things in a lab and then put it into a real body. So calorie counting is not as accurate as you would think. This is why many people will like obsess over finding how many calories should I be eating, the 2,000 calorie diet a day or whatever. they find the number they're supposed to be eating and they stick to that number and they track their calories and they count those calories and then they still don't lose weight. Why is that? Because calories are not accurate. So now they are somewhat accurate. There's a ballpark, right? It's more accurate than just loading up your plate and being like, I think that plate's like 1,000 calories. Like there's some accuracy to it. But the big difference between like calorie counting and food weighing, well, I guess the big reason why people will get results with calorie counting or with food weighing or food tracking is because they're bringing more awareness to what they're eating. So it's not the method of calorie counting or food tracking or food weighing. It's not the method that makes you lose the weight that results in that goal achievement. It's the increased awareness of what you're eating and how much food is going on your plate. And that's why I wanted to start with this particular habit today for this challenge, is because, and that's why this whole challenge is really geared around like how to eat, how to interact with your food, and just foundational habits, because you could eat like the healthiest foods. You could eat all organic, all like whole foods, but if you're still overeating those foods, you're still not going to lose weight, or if you're still under eating those foods, you're still not going to gain weight. So there is, of course, something to be said if your main goal is health overall. The quality of the foods you eat, what you eat, is going to play a humongous part. But for today, for this challenge, we're really focusing on how do you interact with the food that you choose to put on your plate, and how can you make that work for you and build a healthy relationship with your body, with your food. So again, this is why I gave you the hand portion method, is because it is inexact enough where you're not going to be obsessing over it, hopefully. You're not going to feel guilty. You're not going to feel restricted, ideally. But it's enough that it brings some more awareness to what all is going onto your plate, how much is going onto your plate, because it's actually very easy for people to overeat. There's a study, it's so much fun when I read it, where they had people eating out of two different bowls, and one bowl was a self-filling bowl. So you would keep eating and eating and eating from it, and it would just kind of keep filling up with more and more soup. And the people that were eating out of that bowl versus the bowl that had a set amount of soup in it, the people who were eating out of the self-filling bowl ate 75% more food than the people eating out of the regular bowl. And they didn't even know it. When they were asked how full they were like the same level as the people eating out of the regular bowl. So it's very easy to overeat and to underestimate how much we are eating. And so that's why I love the hand portion method. Because you need some level of awareness, but you just don't need this like obsessive compulsive awareness with the measuring and the calorie counting. You just need something that gives you like a rough guideline. And so the hand portion method is just so palm size, there we go, palm size of protein, thickness as well. So however thick your palm is, that's the size you're looking for. That's your protein serving size. Then you've got your cupped handful. Sorry, the angles here are terrible. So cupped handful, like if you were to scoop up some rice out of your bowl, like that's a cupped handful, right? And it's going to kind of dome over. Very guesstimate, you know? So is your cupped handful, is it like level? Oh, sorry, there. Is it level right here, or does it dome up over a little bit? Your choice, however you want to do it. You've got a fist full of veggies. So, sorry, my angles here are wacky. Okay, your fist, right? Just your whole fist. If you can have a fistful size of veggies, there you go. And then your thumb size. This is totally up for debate. Like, is this your thumb or is this your thumb, where you go all the way down to that knuckle? Totally your choice. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because these are just guidelines that help bring some more awareness to how much you are choosing to put on your plate. For quick tip on that one, because I know many people love to do casseroles and that kind of thing where the foods are all kind of like jumbled together. How much food do you get if you add together a palmful, a cupped handful, a fistful, and a thumbful? there's your portion, because pretty much like you've got all the things in the casserole, right? So just add it all up, put a scoop of that on your plate, and there you go. So it should be fairly easy at least, but let me know if you have any questions on that. Let me see. Here's my notes, because I gotta have my notes. Okay, so another thing about why I love the hand portion method is portable, right? Your hands go with you everywhere, and your hands are uniquely sized to fit your body. And so I love thinking about this, especially when it comes to like my kids. When I start putting food on their plate and I look at their hands and I'm like, oh, wow, I give them way too big of portions. And then, of course, no wonder I get bugged when they don't like eat all the food off their plate. I'm like, man, there you go. Give them smaller portion sizes and then they'll actually eat all the food on their plate. I started doing that. It's amazing. So, yeah, now they actually have the right portion sizes for them because I started using the hand method with my kids. It works great. So when you are using the hand portion method, so I've already mentioned how like eating should not be associated with guilt and restriction and all of those negative feelings. We're really not aiming to trigger any of those feelings with this habit. So here's how you kind of put this habit into action, right? So you go ahead and portion out your plate when you're serving yourself. So it is totally up to you how many portions you want to start with. Usually like 1 to 2 is the ballpark of where you want to be. But of course, that's going to depend on like your activity level. For women, where you're at in your cycle, like there's lots of different factors that go in. So the entire month, you are not always going to eat only one portion of all of these things. Like there might be weeks during the month where you want to eat more. There might be weeks where you feel like you need to eat less. Totally up to you. These are just guidelines. So when you actually sit down and eat your food, and two, if you portion out, if you start with one portion and you look at that and you're like, that is so much less than what I've been eating, try a second portion. You can go ahead and add the second portion, and then you're going to do this next step, which is simply sitting down and you're eating your food and you're just paying attention to at what point do you get full. That's all. So the nice thing about this is that it's today's kind of 2 habits in one, right? Because you're paying attention to how full you are as well. You're starting to recognize those fullness cues. And we're going to be building on these over the next 3 days as well. So you'll be able to refine this a bit. So for today, just really focus on those habits and start recognizing at what point are you full. So like if you start with one portion and you eat it and you're sitting there and you're just like, I'm still hungry. I'll go have another portion. That's fine. If you've had 2 portions and you're sitting there and you're like, I'm still hungry, go get a 3rd portion. That's okay. Absolutely okay. The goal here is not to restrict yourself. The goal here is actually to help you really reconnect with your body so that you can start letting your body, which is incredibly intelligent, tell you when it has actually had enough. Because that's actually something I have been seeing with a lot of the people I've been talking with lately, is there are quite a lot of women out there who, and men too, I'm sure, but I've just been talking with mostly women, but they've been so inundated with this concept of like calorie restriction. You got to eat less so that you can lose weight, and they're still not losing weight. And when we like analyze how much they're actually eating, I'm like, oh, you are not eating enough at all, and yet they're not losing weight. And I'm not going to go too far into that, but that is a phenomenon that happens with your body when you're consistently not eating enough. It is a type of stressor and it affects your metabolism. So in a lot of these cases, you actually need to eat more in order to lose weight. So that's always fun. But I've seen it work quite a few times where when we've actually put these habits that I'm teaching you this week, when we actually put those into practice and they start just doing the portions and then just eating until they actually do recognize that they're full. And again, next 2 habits are going to help you really refine this a little more. So if you're worried about anything, feel free to let me know any concerns you have, but trust too that we're going to be talking about that more the next 2 days. So today you're just focusing on those portions, and then starting to recognize at what point do you get full. Like, is it at 1.5 portions? Is it at 2? Is it at 3? Where is it at? And when I start doing that with clients as well, even though they're like, well, I'm eating more than I normally do, I'm really concerned I'm not going to lose the weight. And once their body is able to like reset and recognize, oh, I'm going to be fed at regular periods on a regular basis, it helps their metabolism get going again. So that's just something to keep in mind. So for today, just really focus in on your body. Keep working on this all week too. You're going to be really recognizing at what point do you actually get full from your portions. How much food equals fullness? And fullness, not like overstuffed or anything, but we're going to start refining that over the next few days as well. So just recognize when you're satiated, because at the end of the day, we want you feeling happy and satiated from your food. Happy, nourished, fulfilled, all of the good things, right? You don't want to be feeling any of the bad things, any of the guilt, the anxiety, the restriction. You don't want to be stuck like spending the next 4 hours thinking about food because you just can't wait for your next meal because you didn't eat enough at this meal. So just focus on that for today. Trust that this habit's going to support you in your goal long term. And then, of course, if you have questions, if anything comes up, let me know and I'll talk about it again, either in a comment or I'll just talk about it tomorrow too at tomorrow's live. So let me see if I missed anything. And I know I'm going to get to Sherry's questions here in just a minute as well. Let's see, Tula. Let me see what you said. Come here. Okay, beverages. Yes. Okay, you like to drink a cup of kefir in the morning. And yeah, you would count that as one of your portions. Absolutely. And so you'll notice, like, I'm not limiting you on portions at all. So even if you want snacks, have a snack. Usually a snack, like you're going to stick to like around 1 portion size, right? But I mean, maybe you just get hungry enough that you basically have a 4th meal or something. So yeah, just treat it like that. Absolutely. And then like other beverages, like the sugary beverages are kind of a whole different monster. And one of the things to remember too is that your body does have a harder time recognizing when it's satiated, like when it's properly full, when you're eating lots of super processed or super sugary foods, because like the sugars are going to trigger those pleasure centers in your brain, which kind of overrides your fullness cues. So then you're just like, oh no, I need to eat more. And then you're like, your stomach is going, oh, I don't want any more. So that's a bit of a trick. And then just the other, like the super processed foods, the whole processing process, if that makes sense, the process of processing them, that it kind of pre-digests them in a way so that your body doesn't have to do quite as much work to digest them. And so it kind of goes through your stomach a little faster, which makes it harder to fill up your stomach to trigger that fullness cue, if that makes sense. So just keep that in mind, that this habit is definitely easier to practice when you're eating more like whole and less processed foods, but I don't want you like obsessing over that. Just start bringing that awareness to how much you're eating and just start noticing. And then as this week goes on, you might start noticing kind of the differences. Like, oh, do I feel more full if I eat just like a normal dinner of like roast chicken and veggies and rice versus do I feel less full if I eat like my favorite fast food meal or whatever. So just keep that in mind, and bring up any questions that you might have. Write them down or drop them into a post or a comment or whatever. So, and I'll get to them. So let me check my notes. Let's see. I need some water. Hang on. Let's see. Yes. So, let's see. I shared that. Good. And yeah. Okay. So yeah, the only other thing, actually like putting the hand portion habit into use long term to really help you start getting the results that you're after. What you will do, and we'll talk about this a little bit more towards the end of the week as well, but all you do basically, you get this down first, what I'm asking you to do today, where you just practice doing the hand portions, and then you practice recognizing at what point are you full. So you get better at eyeballing like how much food is enough for you. And then over time, depending on what your goal is, you'll need a way of tracking that goal, of course. So like if it's weight loss or weight gain, like are you tracking by weighing yourself, or are you tracking by how your food fits, how your clothes fit? And then each week, you're just going to check in with yourself, whether it's weighing, whether it's how your clothes fit, taking pictures, whatever, and see if you have made any progress towards that. And then you can kind of tailor your portions by either scaling them up or down based on your needs. So that's really all there is to it. So really, as soon as you start getting used to just being aware of how much food goes on your plate and then being aware of your body's cues, you basically have the foundation that you need to start having a much more confident and happy relationship with your food. So this is the big one. This is like the really big habit to work on. You'll be working on it all week. Let me know as we go if you have any questions on that. The one thing I wanted to mention was, let me see, Sherry had asked about intermittent fasting. And I feel like there is something else. Hold on. Let me pull up where it is, so I can actually see it. There we go. Okay, so Sherry, you had asked for like a mix and match healthy foods list. So that's actually part of the custom nutrition guide that I'm giving away at the end of this challenge. So the more you guys engage, the more chances you get to actually win the custom nutrition guide. It's got some nice food lists in it, along with some other stuff to actually help you. Like you'll get a breakdown of how many portions are right for you based on your body, your size, your goals, all of that fun stuff. So I love those nutrition guides. They're like my favorite thing to give my clients too. So keep active in here, and you might get to win one. It'll be fun. And as a reminder on that too, remember we are doing the whole giveaway, right? So you can also win either a 60-minute goal setting session with me where you'll walk away with like a 4-week plan for what you should be doing for the next 4 weeks, plus the custom nutrition guide. Second place prize is the 30-minute coaching call with me to work on whatever your biggest issue is right now, plus the nutrition guide. And then third place is the custom nutrition guide. And last time we had people, like I do it based on engagement. So whoever is the most engaged is going to get that first prize. And then so this last challenge that we did, I had 2 people who were like equally engaged. And so they both got the custom nutrition guide. So I try to make it as fair as possible. So, all right, let's see. Sherry, you also asked, is intermittent fasting good for you? And should we be eating during specific hours? And this is such a good question because everyone's asking it, right? Like intermittent fasting is one of the big ones out there today. So this one is going to depend on who you talk to. It is a tool. Just like everything else, it is a tool that can work well for people. I guess like the philosophy that I prescribe to is I still view intermittent fasting as a form of disordered eating because you are setting restrictive guidelines around your food that don't take your body's needs into account per se. So it can be good, especially like when it's used for medical stuff and under the guidance of like a registered dietitian, it has a time and place. But coming back to the foundations that you're working on this week, these are foundations that work for everyone. Like they are so well researched and just have such good results while keeping things super simple. So generally, I like to focus on getting people really 100% solid with these foundations before adding in a more complex tool like intermittent fasting or like macro calculations or timed eating and that sort of thing. Because really, if you're not solid on these foundations, if you can't stick with these habits consistently, it basically sets you up for failure with something like a tool like intermittent fasting or macros or whatever. So I hope that makes sense. So it can be useful, but if you are not already really tuned into your body, if you don't already have a healthy relationship with food where there's no guilt, there's no anxiety, there's no restriction, you're just confidently and like from a place of empowerment choosing what you eat because it's right for you as opposed to like worrying about whether you should or shouldn't, then you're ultimately not going to be successful with something like intermittent fasting. So I hope that makes sense. For eating during specific hours, and also for intermittent fasting, like keep in mind, you already have a fast built into your day if you sleep at night. Like that's a 7 to 9 or more hour long fast. And that is something that you're biologically meant to have, that your circadian rhythm is built around that. Your hormonal cycles are built around that. Like that is a fast that is supposed to be there. And then if you are just tuning into your hunger and fullness cues, like you'll know when to eat. If you're not hungry and you don't want to eat, then you don't need to eat. If you're full, you're full. Cool. Like you're not worrying about whether you've cleared your plate or whether you need to wait 5 more minutes before you can break your fast and that sort of thing. So I would definitely just encourage you to listen to your body and allow your body to dictate when the fasts are appropriate for you. And then should you be eating during specific hours? Same deal. They've tried to research and see if there's like optimal hours and stuff. And really what it comes down to is every single person is so unique that the best thing to do is to just get to know your body. Be the expert of your own body. Don't worry about what professionals and scientists and other supposed experts say. Just get to know your body and be your own expert and make your choices based on what you know works for your body, what feels right for your body. What decisions are coming from a place of empowerment, what decisions are coming from a place of guilt or anxiety. And it makes it a lot easier to make those choices and those determinations. So if there is something that you want to try it out. Decide how you're going to track it. Decide how you're going to gauge your success and see if it works. And if it doesn't, if it's too challenging, if you can't stick with it, there's your information, Just come back to the foundations and you'll be good. So I hope that helps answer those questions. So let me see. I haven't gotten any more comments in here, so I don't think I've missed any questions. But if I did, I will come back and check the comments and stuff later and see if anyone else watched, if anyone else had questions. And if it's more of a complex answer, I will answer it tomorrow. I'll make a note, so we'll talk about it tomorrow. So you're welcome, Tula. It's making you hungry. I made sure to eat my lunch right before it came on. So yeah, go enjoy a snack. Enjoy. Have a beautiful day, you guys. And let me know if you have any more questions. And then I will see you all in your inbox in the morning. So you're welcome. And I'll see you all soon. Have a beautiful day. Bye.